Hey everyone, and welcome. If you've ever been part of a fast-moving tech project, you know that speed is absolutely everything. But what happens when that speed starts to create more problems than it solves? Well, today we are diving into a really crucial topic that helps you scale without all the chaos: cloud governance. Think about it. Every great idea, every product that changes the game, it almost always starts out super simple, right? You've got a small, passionate team, a really clear goal, and just a ton of energy. But here's the reality of success. It brings complexity. You get more users, you add more features, you hire more developers, and all of a sudden, that simple, beautiful starting point feels like a very, very distant memory. So to make this all real, let's walk through the story of a startup we're going to call InnovateCo. And InnovateCo, like a lot of companies, totally lived by that move fast and break things mantra. Their one and only focus was building an awesome product. Nothing else mattered. So in the early days, this is what their cloud looked like. Just one single AWS account for literally everything. Everybody on the team had full admin access, because, hey, why not? It's faster, right? The whole philosophy was speed over structure, all built on that classic and kind of dangerous promise. We'll fix it later. And you know what? For a little while, it actually worked. But as InnovateCo got bigger and they started hiring new engineers and creating new teams, that whole fix-it-later plan started to completely fall apart. The cracks were definitely starting to show, and they were getting bigger every single day. The first signs of real trouble came as questions that nobody had an answer to. A brand new, super expensive server just appears out of nowhere, and since everyone's an admin, there's no paper trail. Nobody knows who did it or why. And then the emails from the finance department start flying in. The cloud bill, which used to be pretty predictable, suddenly tripled. The cost of all that chaos was starting to get very, very real. And then came the killer question. A huge potential client asks about their security and compliance standards, and the team just had no answer. In their sprint to build, they had completely forgotten to build securely. And this number right here was the breaking point. A $35,000 surprise bill. It wasn't even just about the money anymore. It was the clearest sign yet that their Wild West approach was completely unsustainable. They had lost control. Okay, so InnovateCo realized they couldn't just keep telling their developers no. That would kill innovation. They needed a better system, a smarter way to work. And this is where we finally introduced the idea of intentional governance. So what in the world is cloud governance? Well, you can think of it as the instruction manual that InnovateCo was missing. It's the set of rules, policies, and importantly, the automated controls you put in place to manage your costs, security, and operations, all without slowing people down. I love this quote because it points to a huge shift in mindset. See, good governance isn't about restriction. It's actually about empowerment. It's about creating a safe, predictable environment where your developers can say yes to new ideas and deploy with total confidence. And this right here is probably the best analogy for it. The guardrails on a highway don't limit how fast you can go, do they? No, they just define the safe edges of the road. They give you the confidence to drive faster because you know you're protected from flying off a cliff. All right, so how do we actually build these guardrails in the real world? Well, if you're in the AWS ecosystem, the great news is you are not starting from scratch. There's a whole toolkit of powerful services designed for exactly this. So these are the core building blocks. You've got AWS organizations to get a handle on all your different accounts. You have service control policies, or SCPs, that act like the ultimate bouncer at the door, saying what is and isn't allowed. AWS CloudTrail is like a security camera, logging every single action. AWS Config makes sure your stuff stays compliant. And AWS Budgets, well, that stops you from getting those surprise bills. These are your tools. Okay, so you've got the tools, but how do you actually use them? A really good strategy focuses on 4 key areas, or pillars, and this is exactly how InnovateCo finally wrestled their chaos back into order. And here they are. First up, access management. Just figuring out who can do what and giving them only the permissions they need. Second, security and compliance, so you can answer that tough customer question with confidence. Third, cost management, to get that $35,000 bill back under control. And finally, reliability, making sure the whole platform is stable and just works. So what's the big takeaway here? By putting these pillars in place, InnovateCo changed their entire culture. They stopped being reactive, constantly putting out fires, and started being proactive, designing a system that was fireproof from the get-go. Just look at the difference. The transformation was a complete 180. They went from being reactive to proactive, from totally unpredictable costs to managed, predictable budgets, from having this vague sense of security to having clear, automated guardrails. You see, their old way was actually holding them back. The new way was designed to help them scale. And this is the one thing I really want you to take away from Innovate Co's story. Governance isn't something you do after things get chaotic. It's the foundation you build so that chaos never gets a foothold in the first place. It's what allows you to build bigger, better, and faster, with real confidence. So I'll leave you with this one last question to think about for your own projects. Take an honest look at your cloud environment. Is it a chaotic playground where you're just hoping for the best? Or is it a stable, solid platform that's ready for growth? Because that choice, it makes all the difference.